The studio lights are blazing. The cameras are rolling. It's another high-energy afternoon on the Oprah Winfrey Show. The crowd is alive, clapping, cheering, waiting for the next big celebrity guest to walk onto the stage. Then, from behind the curtain, walks Steven Seagal, the action movie icon known for his deadly calm, his martial arts mastery, and his mysterious, almost spiritual presence. Dressed in his usual dark robe and tinted glasses, Steven walks slowly toward Oprah, hands folded, almost like a monk. The audience claps loudly, but there's a certain tension in the air, because everyone knows Steven is different. He's not your typical Hollywood star. He doesn't flirt with fame. He doesn't smile for the cameras. He moves with a strange peace that most people don't understand. Oprah greets him warmly, giving her signature smile. "Steven Seagal, everyone," she announces, turning to the audience. "The man who can knock out 10 bad guys and still not mess up his hair." The audience laughs. Steven smiles politely. He sits down, relaxed, hands resting on his knees. For the first few minutes, the interview goes as usual. Career highlights, behind-the-scenes movie stories, a few light jokes. But then Oprah asks something that changes the tone completely. "So, Steven," she says, crossing her legs and leaning forward, "people always describe you as calm, almost too calm. What's your secret?" Steven looks at her, silent for a moment, then answers in his deep, steady voice. "My peace comes from my faith, from years of prayer, meditation, and service. That's where real strength comes from." The room goes quiet for a second. Then, Oprah chuckles. It's not mean-spirited, but it's dismissive. The kind of laugh that says, "Oh, come on. Really?" The audience follows her lead and laughs too. Steven doesn't laugh back. He simply looks at her and not angry, not hurt, just calm. And in that silence, something shifts. You can feel the energy change. Even Oprah seems to sense it, realizing she might have stepped into something deeper than she expected. But what Steven said next made Oprah, and everyone watching, fall completely silent. The crowd's laughter fades slowly, echoing awkwardly across the studio. Steven Seagal doesn't move. He doesn't blink. His stillness is almost unsettling, the kind of calm that feels stronger than anger. Oprah clears her throat, trying to lighten the mood. "Oh, come on, Steven," she says playfully, waving a hand. "You're telling me that meditation and faith can really keep you calm in the chaos of Hollywood?" The audience laughs again, more out of habit than humor. It's the kind of laughter that fills space when people don't know what else to do. Steven's face remains neutral, but his eyes, those sharp, focused eyes, say everything. He tilts his head slightly, then leans forward. His voice is low, deep, and measured. "Oprah, peace isn't a show you turn on when people are watching. It's who you are when the lights go off." The entire room goes quiet. For a moment, you can actually hear the sound of the cameras humming. Oprah blinks, caught off guard. She wasn't expecting that answer. Steven continues, his words calm but heavy with meaning. "When people laugh at peace, it just means they haven't found it yet." The audience doesn't know how to react. Some look at each other. Others stare at him, realizing this isn't a scripted celebrity interview anymore. This is real. Oprah crosses her legs again, this time more thoughtfully. Her trademark smile softens. "So you really live like that?" she asks, half curious, half challenging. Steven nods slowly. "I try to. Every day. Anger's easy. Pride's easy. But stillness, and that's hard. That's the real fight." The words land with surprising weight. The laughter that filled the room minutes ago has turned into a deep, almost spiritual silence. Even Oprah, one of the most composed hosts on television, looks unsure how to proceed. She glances at the audience, then back at Steven. "You know," she says with a small smile, "you might be the most serious guest we've ever had." Steven smiles faintly. "Or maybe I'm just the only one who isn't pretending." There it is, the line that changes everything. The audience murmurs. Oprah raises her eyebrows, surprised but intrigued. She wasn't expecting Steven to turn her playful teasing into a moment of deep truth. A camera zooms in on his face. Calm, stoic, unshaken. He folds his hands again and adds quietly, "People think calmness means weakness, but when you can stay calm while others lose control, that's real strength." A few audience members nod. One woman in the front row whispers, "That's true." Another claps softly, starting a ripple of applause. Oprah watches the reaction, then laughs. But this time it's not mocking. It's respectful. "Well, Steven," she says, "I think you just turned my show into a masterclass." The crowd chuckles gently. The energy has completely changed. Oprah leans in. "Where did this come from? I mean, you weren't always this way, right? The old Steven Seagal we saw in movies. He was fighting everyone." Steven chuckles lightly, his first genuine laugh. "That's the irony," he says. "I spent half my life fighting on screen, and the other half learning not to fight in real life." The audience laughs softly, this time with warmth, not mockery. He continues, "You realize after a while, no matter how strong your body is, it's your spirit that determines who you really are. The world can take everything from you, fame, money, respect, but it can't touch your inner peace unless you give it permission." Oprah nods slowly, listening now, not as a host but as a student. Steven looks out at the audience and says, "When you laugh at someone's faith, you're not hurting them. You're just showing that something inside you is still searching." The crowd murmurs again, this time with agreement. Someone in the back claps. Another person shouts, "Tell it!" Oprah smiles sincerely now. "You know, I think we all needed to hear that today." Steven shrugs humbly. "Maybe, but I needed to say it too. The moment feels sacred, rare, authentic, unscripted." The show that started with laughter has turned into a quiet sermon on self-control and respect. Oprah takes a breath, glances toward the cameras and says softly, "We'll be right back after the break." The audience claps, not the wild applause of entertainment, but the kind that comes from genuine admiration. As the lights dim and the commercial break rolls in, Oprah leans toward Steven and says off mic, "You really mean that, don't you?" Steven nods. "Every word," she smiles faintly. "Then maybe we should all start listening. Have you ever been laughed at for what you believe in? Tell me in the comments, and let me know which country or city you're watching from right now. I want to see where our believers in peace are coming from." The cameras fade back in. Oprah and Steven sit across from each other, the tension replaced by quiet respect. Oprah's smile is softer now, less showbiz and more sincere. She looks at Steven with genuine curiosity. "Steven," she says, "you really believe that peace and faith can exist even in an industry like Hollywood, where everything is competition, ego, and noise?" Steven takes a slow breath before answering. "Yes," he says simply, "because faith isn't something you carry in your hands. It's something you live with every breath." The audience listens closely, to no laughter this time. The silence feels sacred, as if everyone in the room knows they're hearing something true. Oprah leans in. "But don't people mock that? I mean, when you try to live differently, don't they say you're fake or naive?" Steven nods. "They do, especially when they can't understand peace. You see, most people are addicted to conflict. It makes them feel alive. But peace," he pauses, looking straight into the camera, "peace is for those who are already alive inside." The audience reacts. Some nod. Others whisper, "Wow." Oprah looks down for a moment, thinking. She's no longer trying to entertain. She's reflecting. "So you're saying," she begins slowly, "that when people laugh at faith, it's not about disrespect, it's about their own emptiness." Steven nods again. "Exactly. You can't laugh at something you truly understand. When people mock faith, it's usually because they've lost their own." There's a deep silence. You can see Oprah processing the words. Her posture has changed. She's no longer leading the conversation. Steven continues, his voice calm and steady. "When I started in Hollywood, I saw everything. Greed, jealousy, betrayal. It almost changed me. But then I remembered what my teacher once told me. Don't let the storm outside you destroy the calm inside you. And I made a promise, never to let this world steal my peace." The audience claps softly, not for the celebrity, but for the truth in his words. Oprah looks at him with new respect. "You know, that's powerful," she says. "Most people would have become bitter or angry or cynical." Steven smiles faintly. "Bitterness is easy. Forgiveness is the hard part." A woman in the front row nods and wipes away a tear. The camera captures her face and she's clearly moved. Oprah notices too. She glances at the audience and says, "You can feel this, can't you?" The crowd applauds gently again. Steven chuckles lightly. You see, Oprah, when someone laughs at your faith, you don't have to fight back. You just keep living it. Eventually, truth speaks for itself. He sits back, hands folded again as if in meditation. The energy in the room feels completely different now. Peaceful, grounded. Oprah sighs, smiling genuinely. You know, you've made me think about something. I've always told people to live their truth, but maybe I didn't realize how quiet truth really is. Steven nods slowly. The loudest person in the room is usually the one who hasn't found peace yet. The audience bursts into quiet applause again. It's not the usual TV energy, it's almost reverent. Oprah leans back in her chair, speechless for a moment. You really walk the talk, don't you? Steven shrugs humbly. I try. Every day is practice. Some days I fail, but I keep trying. Oprah laughs softly, not mockingly this time, but warmly. Well, Steven, I think a lot of us are failing at peace these days. Steven smiles. Then we start again. Every morning we start again. The camera pans across the audience and people nodding, smiling, a few teary eyes. You can tell that something real has touched them. Then, Oprah looks straight at the camera and says, I think we all just got a little lesson in faith today. The audience claps again, louder now, but still with respect. Steven nods once more, almost like a bow. Faith isn't about being perfect, he says. It's about staying humble when the world tests you. There's a quiet beat of silence before Oprah says, Thank you for that. Now let me ask you something. What would you do if someone mocked your faith on live TV? Would you stay calm like Steven Seagal? Or would you fire back and defend yourself? Be honest. Type your answer in the comments below. I really want to see how you would handle it. As the camera zooms out, the audience continues clapping softly. The energy in the studio has completely changed. The same room that was laughing at Faith just minutes earlier is now quiet, reflective, and united by something deeper. Even Oprah seems changed. Her posture is softer, her tone humble. She glances at Steven with gratitude, not as a talk show host, but as someone who's just learned a valuable lesson. And yet, neither of them knows that what's about to happen next, in the following segment, will make this moment go viral around the world. When the cameras come back from the next break, something feels different. The studio lights are softer. Oprah's tone is gentler, calmer, almost meditative. You can tell she's not just doing an interview anymore. She's having a conversation that's changing her. Oprah looks across at Steven and says quietly, You know, during the break I was thinking, I've laughed at a lot of people's beliefs over the years. Not out of hate, but because sometimes I didn't understand them. The audience goes still. This is the side of Oprah viewers rarely see. Raw, unguarded. Steven nods respectfully. That's honest, he says. And that's the first step in realizing it. Oprah smiles faintly, almost embarrassed. When you said peace isn't a show you turn on when people are watching, that hit me. Because this show, my whole career, it's all about being seen. But maybe real peace starts when nobody's watching, the audience murmurs. A soft wave of agreement. Steven's voice remains steady. It does. The hardest part is being the same person on camera and off camera. That's what true faith demands, a consistency. Oprah nods slowly, absorbing every word. You know, I once interviewed a monk years ago. He told me something similar, that silence teaches you more about yourself than success ever can. But I didn't really understand it until now. Steven smiles kindly. That's because silence doesn't flatter you. It reveals you. The audience gasps lightly. A few people clap spontaneously. Oprah laughs softly, shaking her head. You've got a quote for everything, don't you? Steven chuckles. Not quotes and lessons. Most of them learned the hard way. She tilts her head. So what made you start walking this path? Was there a moment where you realized fame wasn't enough? Steven's expression darkens slightly. The air shifts. You can tell the story he's about to tell is personal. He leans forward. There was a day years ago and when everything seemed perfect. The movies, the money, the attention. But one night, I was sitting alone in a big house surrounded by awards and I realized I didn't even like the person I'd become. The audience listens intently. You could hear a pin drop. Steven continues. That night I prayed, not for success, not for fame. I prayed for peace. The next morning I felt lighter. Like for the first time in years I could breathe again. Since then, I've been chasing peace instead of applause. A A quiet murmur runs through the crowd. Oprah nods, visibly touched. "That's powerful," she says softly. "You let go of everything people spend their lives chasing." Steven shrugs gently. "When you stop needing approval, you find freedom." That line lands hard. You can see it on Oprah's face. She feels it. The audience claps again, some nodding deeply. Then Oprah looks out toward the audience and says, "You know what's funny? We live in a time where everyone's chasing likes, shares, validation, and here you are reminding us that peace doesn't need an audience." Steven smiles faintly. "Peace doesn't trend, Oprah, but it lasts." The crowd applauds again, louder this time. Oprah chuckles, shaking her head. "You might have just given me the best quote of the year." Steven smiles humbly. "It's not mine. It's the truth." For a few seconds, they just sit there. Two people who've lived very public lives, sharing a private kind of understanding in front of millions. Then Oprah breaks the silence. "You know, earlier when I laughed, when you first mentioned faith, I wasn't laughing at you. I think I was laughing because I didn't know how to respond. Sometimes when we're uncomfortable with truth, we hide behind humor." Steven nods. "That's human. But the beautiful thing is you didn't stay there." She smiles warmly. "No, I didn't, and I'm glad. Because right now I feel lighter too." The audience claps again, standing in some corners of the studio. You can feel the energy. Not entertainment, but transformation. Steven glances at Oprah and says, "Faith isn't about perfection. It's about progress. Every time you choose peace instead of pride, you win." That line makes Oprah tear up. She reaches for a tissue and laughs softly. "You're gonna make me cry on my own show." The audience laughs with her, gently, supportively. Steven smiles. "Crying's good. It means you're releasing something heavy." She nods, wiping her eyes. "You're right. Maybe it's time I stop laughing at what I don't understand by you and start listening instead." The audience bursts into applause again, this time full, heartfelt and sustained. Steven bows his head slightly, his calm presence grounding the room once more. Oprah takes a breath and looks straight into the camera. Her voice is steady but full of emotion. Sometimes we think strength means speaking louder, but maybe real strength is being still and choosing to understand instead of judge. The audience stands, a full standing ovation. Steven just smiles quietly, almost shyly. Oprah reaches out her hand. "Thank you, Steven, for teaching us all something today." He shakes her hand gently. "Thank you for listening." And for the first time in a long while, Oprah looks truly moved. Not as a host, not as a celebrity, but as a person who's just learned something about humility and grace. Have you ever had a moment where someone's words completely changed how you saw life? Tell me in the comments. I want to hear your story. And if this scene touched you, drop a and tell me which country or city you're watching from. Let's see how far this message of peace can travel. The applause slowly fades. The studio quiets down again. Oprah takes a deep breath, still visibly emotional. She looks at Steven, her voice softer now, almost trembling. "Steven, can I be honest with you?" she asks. He nods calmly. "Of course." Oprah pauses, then says, "There was a time in my life when I didn't believe anymore. Not in faith, not in goodness, not even in myself." The audience goes quiet. You can feel the weight of her words. She continues, "I've sat in rooms with presidents, kings, billionaires. And yet, there were nights when I went home and felt completely empty. I kept telling myself that success was enough, but it wasn't. I was smiling for the cameras while falling apart inside." Her voice cracks slightly. The crowd murmurs softly, empathetically. Steven doesn't interrupt. He just listens, patient, still present. Oprah laughs nervously, wiping a tear. "And you know the worst part? I thought faith made people weak. I thought it was something people turned to when they didn't have control. But now sitting here with you, I realize I had it all backward." Steven tilts his head slightly, his tone gentle. "What changed?" Oprah looks down, thinking. "You did," she says quietly. "This conversation did. I didn't realize how powerful calmness could be, how much strength there is in not needing to prove yourself." The audience breaks into light applause again. Steven smiles humbly. "Faith doesn't mean surrendering control, Oprah. It means trusting that not everything needs to be controlled." Oprah nods slowly. "That's hard for me. I've built my life by controlling every detail. Every show, every word, every move." Steven chuckles softly. Control feels safe, but peace feels free. That line lands like a thunderclap. The audience reacts audibly. Gasps, murmurs, claps. Oprah leans back, exhaling deeply. You know, it's funny. For decades, I've asked people the hardest questions about their lives, but I never asked them about their peace. Steven smiles knowingly. Because peace can't be interviewed. It can only be lived. The audience claps again, and slower this time, meaningful. Then Oprah, gathering herself, says, "When I laughed earlier, I think it wasn't about your faith. It was about my fear. Faith scared me. Because if faith is real, it means I'm not in control." Steven looks at her. No judgment, only compassion. That's exactly what faith is. Letting go of the illusion that you ever were. Oprah exhales sharply, as if something inside her just released. That's terrifying, but freeing. Steven nods. The truth usually is. The audience chuckles softly. Oprah wipes another tear, smiling. "You know, this might be the first time in 20 years that a guest has made me speechless." Steven grins modestly. That's okay. Silence has its own wisdom. Oprah laughs through the emotion. "You're right again." "You're always right." He chuckles. "No, I'm just still learning, like everyone else." There's another pause. Peaceful, not awkward. You can feel the audience breathe with them. Then Oprah looks at him intently. "Steven, what would you say to someone who's lost faith completely? Someone watching this right now, feeling hopeless. What do they need to hear?" Steven's face turns serious. He sits forward, hands clasped together. The cameras zoom in. "I'd say this," he begins. "Don't chase light. Become it." The audience gasps softly. Steven continues, his tone deep and grounded. "Faith isn't about waiting for someone to save you. It's about realizing the light you've been praying for has been inside you all along. You just forgot how to see it." Silence fills the room. No one moves. Even Oprah is frozen, eyes glistening. Steven leans back slowly. "You see, peace doesn't come from getting what you want. It comes from remembering who you are." That line hits the audience like a wave. You can see people wiping their eyes. Some clasp their hands together. Oprah swallows hard, her voice shaking slightly. That might be one of the most beautiful things I've ever heard." Steven smiles faintly. "It's not mine. It's everyone's. We all have that light. We just cover it with fear, pride, and noise. When you remove that, faith returns." The audience erupts. Standing applause, cheers, tears. It's no longer just a talk show. It's a moment of awakening. Oprah stands up too, clapping with them. You can tell she's overwhelmed, but in the best way. When the noise dies down, she looks at Steven and says, "You've reminded me, and everyone here, that faith isn't a religion. It's a way of being. It's how we treat each other, how we stay calm when the world tests us." Steven nods quietly. "Exactly. Faith is the space between reaction and wisdom." The audience goes silent again. That kind of silence that comes when people are thinking deeply. Oprah smiles through tears. "Well, you just changed a lot of hearts today, including mine." Steven bows his head slightly. Then it was worth it. They both sit in silence for a few seconds, two icons humbled by truth. What Steven just said, don't chase light. Become it. Hit me hard. What about you? Tell me in the comments if you've ever had a moment where you remembered your inner light. And if this message spoke to your heart, type faith in the comments. Let's fill this space with light. The next morning, the internet explodes. Clips from Oprah's interview with Steven Seagal dominate every social media feed. The video titled "Oprah Laughs at Steven Seagal's Faith," then gets humbled seconds later, racks up millions of views overnight. Comments flood in from around the world. "This is the most powerful interview I've ever seen. Steven Seagal just taught the world what real strength looks like." Oprah handled it with grace, respect to both of them. Within 24 hours, the clip hits 20 million views. News outlets pick it up. Reaction videos flood YouTube. TikTok creators replay the exact moment Oprah laughs, and the silence that follows when Steven says, "Peace isn't a show you turn on when people are watching." It becomes the quote of the week, printed on memes, posted with hashtags like "faith over fame" or "peace has power," and "be the light." But while the world debates and reacts, Oprah stays quiet. For 2 days, she says nothing, no interviews, no tweets. She's reflecting, processing. Finally, On the third day, she breaks her silence with a post that goes viral instantly. It's just a black background with white text. I laughed at something I didn't understand. Then I listened, and I learned. Oprah Winfrey, the comments section blows up. Millions flood in. That's humility. Takes real strength to admit that. Respect, Oprah. We're all learning. But that's not all. Later that week, on her podcast, Oprah revisits the moment in depth. The tone of her voice is calm, grounded. Not the TV host persona, but Oprah the person. I'll be honest, she says softly. When Steven talked about faith, my instinct was to deflect with humor. Because faith scares people. It scared me. But when I saw the look in his eyes, that stillness, I realized he wasn't preaching. He was living what he believed. She pauses, letting the silence breathe. After that interview, I went home and sat in my garden for hours. No cameras, no staff, just silence. And I asked myself, when was the last time I truly felt peace? Her voice trembles slightly. It had been years. She continues. Steven reminded me of something I forgot, that faith isn't weakness. It's courage. It's choosing calm when you have every reason to be angry. It's forgiving when you'd rather fight. That's power. The clip from her podcast spreads even faster. People start stitching it with Steven's original quote. Faith leaders, monks, motivational speakers. Everyone starts referencing the moment. It becomes a global conversation about humility and respect. One viral tweet sums it up perfectly. Oprah laughed. Steven stayed calm, and the world learned what grace looks like. Meanwhile, Steven Seagal himself stays silent. No interviews, no statements. When a reporter finally asks him about it outside a charity event, he just smiles and says, I didn't teach anyone anything. Truth did. That line becomes another viral quote. Across the world, from the US to the Philippines, from Africa to Europe, people share their own stories of being laughed at and choosing peace instead of anger. Churches, schools, and even corporate seminars start referencing the exchange as a lesson in emotional intelligence. It's no longer just a TV moment. It's a movement. Oprah eventually invites Steven back, not for a show, but for a quiet conversation recorded privately for her YouTube channel. The video opens with Oprah saying, I think the world learned a lot from you that day, but I learned the most. Steven smiles humbly. We both did. They talk for half an hour, not about movies or fame, but about mindfulness, respect, and spiritual growth. At one point, Oprah asks him, why didn't you react that day? Why didn't you defend yourself when I laughed? Steven chuckles softly. Because I wasn't the one being attacked. It was your misunderstanding that was hurting you, not me. Why would I fight that? Oprah sits quietly, taking it in. That's profound, he nods. When someone mocks your peace, don't lose it trying to prove them wrong. Just let them see it for themselves. The clip ends with Oprah saying, I think the world needed that reminder. The audience watching online floods the comments. This is bigger than an interview. This is a lesson for humanity. Peace wins again. Faith doesn't shout. It shines. Within a week, universities and podcasts around the globe are dissecting the exchange. The moment becomes a case study on emotional mastery, and Oprah, the woman who once laughed, is now one of its strongest advocates. She begins ending her shows with a short reflection. Before you judge, pause. Before you laugh, listen. You might just learn something sacred. The message spreads. Everywhere, so inspiring millions to think twice before reacting in anger or mockery. The clip that began as a moment of awkward laughter becomes a symbol of transformation, proof that humility can turn embarrassment into enlightenment. Imagine being laughed at on live TV for what you believe in. Could you stay calm like Steven Seagal did? Or would you react differently? Be honest. Drop your answer in the comments. And type peace if you believe calmness is stronger than anger. Months pass. The moment that began as an awkward laugh on live TV is now remembered as one of the most powerful transformations ever broadcast. But this isn't just about a viral clip anymore. It's about what it taught the world. In classrooms, motivational seminars, and podcasts, speakers quote Steven Seagal's words, peace isn't a show you turn on when people are watching. It's who you are when the lights go off. Even Oprah herself begins ending her shows with small reflections on humility and mindfulness. She admits that one brief moment of laughter taught her more about grace than years of success ever did. One evening, during an award ceremony, Oprah is being honored for her impact on media. As she walks on stage, the crowd rises to its feet. Cameras flash. The world is watching, again. But this time, Oprah's energy feels different, calmer, grounded. When it's her turn to speak, she begins by smiling softly. "You know," she says, "I've spent my life asking people questions. But the one question I never asked myself was, am I listening?" The room goes silent. She continues, "A few months ago, I laughed at something I didn't understand. I thought I was the teacher that day, but I was the student." There's a ripple of emotion in the audience. People nod, some already tearing up. Oprah pauses, her voice steady but full of heart. "I realize something powerful. The moment you laugh at someone's faith, you close the door to wisdom. But when you choose to listen, really listen, you open the door to peace." Applause breaks out, soft but heartfelt. Then she smiles knowingly. "And I have one man to thank for that reminder, Steven Seagal." The crowd cheers. Cameras cut to Steven in the audience, sitting quietly in a black suit, smiling humbly. He nods respectfully but doesn't stand. He doesn't need to. Oprah gestures toward him. He didn't fight back. He didn't embarrass me. He didn't even raise his voice. He just stayed calm and let truth do the talking. That day I learned that silence can be stronger than pride, and peace louder than anger. The entire room erupts in applause, a standing ovation that lasts nearly a minute. Oprah wipes her eyes, smiling. "I hope that everyone watching tonight remembers this. Don't let laughter at your expense break your faith. Let it strengthen it. Because when you stand in truth, even your critics become your audience." She steps back from the microphone as the audience cheers louder. Steven rises slowly, applauding her back. Their eyes meet across the room. Two people forever connected by one unforgettable lesson. Later that night, as the world replays Oprah's speech, a new wave of inspiration spreads across the internet. Clips trend under hashtags like "to be still," "peace wins," and/or "listen before you laugh." Even years later, people still talk about that Oprah Seagal moment, not as a scandal, not as drama, but as a turning point in how celebrities and everyday people approach faith and humility. In interviews, Oprah often says, "I used to think power was being heard. Now I know power is being calm." And Steven, he never takes credit. In fact, when asked about it again, he just smiles and says, "The world didn't need to hear me. It needed to hear itself." That quiet humility only deepens the respect people feel for him. The viral clip becomes one of the most viewed moments in talk show history, studied, shared, and remembered as the day laughter turned into enlightenment. And at its heart, one timeless message remains. True faith doesn't need to shout. It doesn't need to argue. It simply stands unshaken and lets the world see what peace looks like. If this story moved you, if you believe that no one should ever be judged or laughed at for what they believe in, type respect in the comments. Let's fill the feed with love, understanding, and peace. And if you want more stories like this, stories that show strength through calmness, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this with someone who needs a reminder today. Peace will always win.